Hello, everybody. This is Ming Chen,
Hi, I'm Mike Zapsik from AMC's Comic Book Man.
and you're watching AFK, the AFK show, our favorite show on the planet.
One of.
One of. So you're watching the right show. Keep watching, and keep watching.
And keep watching. And keep watching. Don't stop.
Morning, folks. I know what this looks like. This looks like fashionably late. But I hadn't realized the room was on the other side of the state. You couldn't even build a building this big in England. You could, it's absolutely incredible. Good morning.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm very happy.
Good. So, ladies and gentlemen,
rolling my
welcome
dream.
to day 2 of Comicpalooza, and let's give a big welcome to Paul McGann. So, I am your moderator, Jesse Jackson, JWJ170104 on Twitter, because I'm desperate for Twitter followers. Paul, I want to start out with, you teased something wonderful yesterday, but I'm going to wait a little bit for this.
Go on, carry on. Let me
Okay.
just do this as well. Because you're all in my dream, but I want to remember.
Yes.
What is this? I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Anyway.
So you and I are contemporaries as far as age-wise. I grew up loving, here in the States, I loved comic books and Star Trek. What did you grow up as a boy? What did you love to read and watch?
I have to say, I came late, I guess, to the, it feels like, anyway, to the, particularly the science fiction party. That we all watched Doctor Who. We had just 3 TV channels we grew up with in England. And
Same thing in the U.S.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I always assume you've always had 40,
Yeah,
50,
yeah.
60.
No. Yeah.
Is this an
And
assumption?
one of them was very fuzzy, and you had to move the rabbit ears, which half these people don't know what rabbit ears means.
Yeah. Yeah, our first TV had a magnifying screen in front of it. You know, it was just this
Right.
big. Yeah. Sounds like that Monty Python sketch now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We lived under a hole in the motorway. No, but, so, I mean, in England, you couldn't really, Doctor Who particularly, you couldn't escape it. It was scheduled for when you came home from school. Everybody saw it. You know, and I suppose all became fans.
Yes, sir.
Even if, what? Oh, so you can't hear me. There we are. How's that? There we are. How many people are here? What would you say? 300, 400?
And
I'm trained to fill a room with sound. I could do that without a mic.
So, what's sad is I know there's tons of fans waiting to pick up their tickets or buy their tickets.
Oh, you're kidding.
That are in line, yeah. So,
Well, that's a pity.
it
It's
is a
real
pity. Or we're just kind of blessed. And then we will later kind of lord it over them all day. Like, oh yeah, I was at the Paul McGann panel. Oh, you weren't? Oh, should have bought your tickets early.
That's the spirit.
Yes.
Well, anyway, moving backwards and swiftly
Yes.
on.
So did you read a lot as a kid? Were you?
Yeah, we read. I've got 4 siblings,
Yeah.
pretty close in age. We tended to share everything
Okay.
anyway, and books is one of them.
Okay.
And comic books too, yeah.
Yeah.
It's important to a kid, isn't it?
It is.
But you know, the other day when we first arrived, Colin Baker and I went to the Johnson Space Center. We were shown around. It was thrilling. My inner 10-year-old child will never, ever forget this day. It was fantastic. Yeah. And particularly, you know, because we were those kids.
Right.
We were the moonshot kids.
Yeah.
You know. And probably a lot of you have already been there, but part of the trip is that you get to sit and look around. You sit in and look around the old Apollo mission control.
Right.
So I had to sit in the flight director's seat,
Absolutely.
pick up the red phone, you know. But
So that
but
was.
it reminded me. It took me straight back.
So
You know,
that-
for us kids growing up in
Right.
the '60s, you know, your imagination was infinite. It was.
Right.
It seemed to be being sparked all the time by things.
Absolutely. I had
It was a rich
the
time. I
Gemini
think.
capsule and the
Yeah.
Apollo. We were 9 and 10 when the moonwalk happened.
That's right.
I imagine sitting in the command is like some people growing up sitting in the TARDIS. You know,
Yeah.
to them, it was just amazing. I bet.
It was a great time. Two of my siblings became scientists on the strength of it.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, that's that. But that's what children are like. You know, you get them along the way with
Right.
something, and just watch them go. You know.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, you know, there's only been 12 men who've walked on the moon. This was not a planned transition. And for a time, there were fewer men who'd been the doctor that actually had walked on the moon. So it's a very elite company. So you must be thrilled that you're part of that group.
Well, I am now. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I am now.
Well, you know,
And we met
research.
this, like the guy we met. There's an astronaut here called Mike Finker, and it was this guy that showed us around the other day. And this guy's he's spent more time now on the space station, and therefore more hours in space than any living American. You know, so
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, that's
I'm
very
still
cool.
hugely impressed by that kind of thing and the ingenuity of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it will never wear off, I don't think.
No.
And that's important.
It is.
And coming to things like this, one is constantly reminded. And often watching, like meeting a grown person and watching the years just slip away as you kind of, you're suddenly talking to a child again.
Yes.
You know, I love that. This is the spirit of it. And that's what I love most, I think.
You know, it is so wonderful when at conventions you get a chance to meet your childhood heroes, and 99% of the time they are better than you even thought. And that's just a wonderful gift they
Because
give
don't they
us.
say you should never meet your
Yeah.
heroes? This is always it.
Well, I
Oh
agree.
yeah, you can understand why.
Yeah, you can.
Particularly your musical heroes, you know, they might let you down.
Right.
But,
Do you have what's your musical hero? And then I'll get to Doctor Who, I promise.
well, there's many. John Lennon was my hero.
Yeah.
But you know, he was, well, let's not get sidetracked, but,
Yeah.
but he was a proper hero. He was flawed and weird and brilliant and
Yeah.
human, you know,
Right.
And inspired. But then I grew up in the city of Liverpool, so we felt quite possessive of, and still do, of those people. So.
You know, it's one of those things where you find an up-and-coming musician and you kind of own them and love them, and in a little way you're jealous when you're glad for them financially and everything that they hit it, but in a lot of ways you wish they had stayed this little independent band that, you know, you got to go with 30 or 40 other people and hear them play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I'm suddenly 16 again now with
Yeah?
LPs under my arm.
Yeah.
They don't know what that means anymore. Do they?
No, they don't.
These children.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing over there? What's the? What are you, a formation team or something? Okay.
Okay. So yesterday, you were very kind enough. I have a Doctor Who sketchbook, and so I have different artists make sketches of throughout the Who universe. And my good friend Tom did a sketch of you, and you signed it. And I talked about that the 50th anniversary, the prequel episode you're in. I was lucky that I wasn't spoiled. Right after it went out, you know, there were headlines everywhere, Paul McGann returns as Doctor, but I went in it cold, and when you say, you know, I'm a doctor, but probably not the one you're expecting, a friend of mine crocheted that for me. So I figured we needed props.
What time of day did it go out here, that episode?
It was in the morning.
It was in the morning,
Yeah,
was
it was
it?
in the morning. I'm alone in my computer room, and I pump my fist in the air when they see you. So luckily my wife had already left, or else she would have said, you're weird again, you're weird.
It was actually on my birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Stephen Moffat,
So yes,
may
you
his
had
tribe
told me
increase.
We came this close to everyone being spoiled. So can you tell that story? Talk about.
If I can, well,
Yeah.
hold that thought.
I'll vent.
I'm going to try and find this text that,
Okay.
that Moffat sent to me on this day.
Well, because
If
I
I
thought it was
can.
amazing. There was no press at all about any of the previous Doctors returning. We all knew that David and Matt were going to be in it, but nothing else.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I found it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a text. This is at November 14th at 11 a.m. I was in a radio studio. It says, "Happy birthday, Doctor. It's Stephen Moffat from Doctor Who here." I said, what other Stephen Moffats are going to call you? With a birthday surprise. The prequel is being released any second. Well, within the hour. I had to bring it forward because the story is threatening to break. Hopefully this way it'll still be a lovely surprise. Brace yourself, number 8. And huge apologies for it being so sudden. There we go, that's from Moffat. And so... And I remember feeling my reaction, because I was excited, and I was surprised. Of course, it should have gone out 10 days later, or whatever it was, on the anniversary night, with everything else. But I remember feeling also kind of sad.
Right.
That his hand had been forced.
Right.
We're living in a world now, with spoilers and the like. Is now sort of, it's the norm, it's part of it. Newspapers want them, people... I don't understand the spirit of it particularly. I would never do it myself. And of course, we were all sworn to secrecy, and it's kind of easy just to keep a secret if all you have to do is not tell anybody. So,
Yeah.
that's easy. That's the easy bit. But there are people that work on these things, scores of people who might have copies on their hard drives. They might be working on the picture or the sound or whatever it is. And it only, the transfers of things, so it only needs one person to break it. I remember a couple of days before the 14th, I was tweeted a couple of lines of dialogue from the thing, and they were deadly accurate. And then a picture went out, a photograph went out the day before. Again, it was deadly accurate, so we knew.
Yeah.
So it was a pity in one way, but what a great birthday surprise.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit, I assume Stephen reached out to you, asked if you were interested, and talked about, so just tell us a little about that.
It all happened really quickly. I say we, me and the boy band, that is the 4 Doctors. We're on the old man band. We were on stage. We were in Australia, I think whenever it was, 4 or 5 weeks before, and I was contacted by email, and it was Moffat, and Moffat said, well, in principle, if this happens, if you would, I'll write it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I said, can I see something? He said, I haven't written it yet.
Yeah.
Because, as an actor, you want to see it. You don't want to just do something sight unseen. He said, I ain't written it. You say yes, I'll write it. And that's how it happened.
Wow.
But I was then, from that moment, I was sworn to secrecy. I couldn't even tell the other guys that I was hit. This is how it is. This is where it begins.
Yeah.
And of course, all that. Paradoxically, we were doing this. Peter Davison was already in the middle of this 5 Doctors caper,
which is
of course is predicated on the idea that we're all, barred from the big celebrations, and then suddenly I'm thinking, oh great, and which actually is why I only appear for 2 minutes in the finished thing.
Right.
But so I couldn't tell them. And I didn't tell them, but they guessed anyway. And we went, when I got home, they were already shooting, Moffat was already shooting the 3D thing, the big 50th, which is a big to-do. They took them 6-7 weeks to do it in Cardiff. And it was when that had wrapped, literally the night before, on the Saturday night, we arrived on the Sunday to the studio in Cardiff, and shot for a day. That was it. That's how we made it.
It
in a corner of they constructed a set. A couple of the crew hung around. and we made this thing. And it was quick. And I could be wrong, but it seemed as if Moffat had put it together on the Sunday.
Yeah.
It was only 6 minutes.
Yeah.
But really...
But it's such a powerful 6 minutes.
It's, you know...
And
I'm not a writer, but I can see that that's very skillful.
And
to achieve that much in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It's an eternity. Bring me knitting.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Like look at what he does in 6 minutes. He manages to achieve in 6 minutes. You know, he's first of all he springs a surprise. Then he manages to kind of reconcile a couple of the old narrative lines and pose a few new questions. There's even a sort of a hiatus in the middle where we might get bored.
Yeah.
It's very skillful.
Yeah.
Then, he brings back somebody from the old thing. There's a regeneration, of course, towards the end, all in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
That's clever.
And it truly brings back the post, the pre-era with the new era. I mean, you bridge that in such a beautiful way.
I think so, too. And I have to say, I didn't, because it all happened very quickly, and we made it very quickly, particularly those... Where the Doctor invokes the names of the old, the Big Finish,
audio,
the audio, they're not called assistants,
what
are they
called?
Companions.
Right.
I'm jet lagged. And
Yes.
The import of which didn't quite strike me at the time.
Right.
It was only when I was on the way home I thought, oh wow, that's an endorsement.
Yeah.
What did they say? No, that's canon.
Yeah,
that's
it's now
canonizing
canon
something.
now. All that made it,
Yeah.
and
Which was cool,
It was very cool, and you got to say, "I'm a Time Lord, but I'm one of the nice ones,"
That's true.
which was a great line.
Yeah.
And
I didn't have to wear a wig.
yes, I
Right, man.
but I loved the new how you looked. It was close enough that you could see the persona and some of the costume of the movie, but you could see how it adapted and how, if we had had the chance to see more televised stories from the Doctor, what it would be. It was
Well, it
just
looked,
amazing.
I agree, and it looked conceivably, it was something you could fight in, work in.
Yes.
It looked practical, it looked like a working costume.
Yeah.
But it had enough of the old look.
Right.
And it was very clever, just
Yeah.
dead on. Again, I'd had a little choice in that. It was there when I got there. It's how it is. But I thought it looked great,
Yeah. Do you have a doctor? Who's your doctor?
My favorite's the first one.
Yeah.
Because he was mine.
Yeah.
Bill
I
Hartnell.
understand. Yeah.
Bill Hartnell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I loved Bill Hartnell. And to us kids, in the 60s, he had that gravitas. He had that, there was a strength about him. Weirdly, I'm older than he was then. I'm older now than he was then. I can't still...
No, yeah.
Anyway, let's not get into that.
I understand.
But,
we do
I'm
want to take
902.
fan questions. There's a microphone over there, and so we want to take questions.
yeah,
so
you do some of the work.
Go ahead and line up. Yes. You want to talk a little bit about the Big Finish? How did you decide to start doing the audio adventures? Talk a little about them
Yeah. Well,
while they're queuing.
the Big Finish happened, I think now it's been over 10 years, 11 years, and when I was first invited to do them, I jumped at the chance. I like radio drama.
Right.
Anyway, and there's still an enduring tradition in Britain anyway of radio drama. We still do it, and I expected there would still be that here because this is where it really started.
Yes.
But there's not so much of a tradition here, and I wish there were.
Yeah.
And it's my fervent hope that things like the Big Finish and these audio dramas, reinstills, a love of this kind of thing, because one of the gratifying things since the anniversary is that, and at conventions like these, is more and more, particularly young people are coming up and saying, I've got into the penny's dropped, I've got into these audio dramas. I'm buying them, word of mouth is meaning that they're spreading. I never thought of listening to a radio play before, but I can put it on in the car now, which is great,
And you have the imagination in your mind. You're seeing it.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's as infinite as you can
Absolutely.
imagine. You don't have to pay for that,
Right.
in special effects.
Yeah.
And of course, the Eighth Doctor, by and large, lives on audio. So,
Right.
I'm very grateful for them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Okay, come on.
Afternoon, Mr. McGann.
Do your worst.
As an actor, did you find any similarities between the Doctor character when you were, researching it as an actor, and the character Marwood, which were obviously so different? But did you draw from any similar experiences for the two characters?
Not consciously, but I think, and this is pretty general, but it applies to me. When I work as an actor, I don't know how talented I am or whatever it is, but I've always tried to, if there's only one rule of thumb, it's that whatever the character is, I mean, you're going to have to tell the story anyway, whatever the script is, but in a sense, it works best when you meet these characters kind of halfway with characteristics of your own that will just kind of make it natural. Or I can't think of any other way of describing it. I suppose if I could, I'd be a teacher rather than an actor, sort of thing. But so, in answer to your question, I'm sure that there are elements of probably of all this. I've probably only ever played one character for 30 years.
Just with a different neon.
Just with and different wigs on and that.
Okay. Shades.
So yeah.
Very nice.
Hello, Paul.
Good morning.
Hi,
Is it
good
still morning?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. I had a question from Mishka, my best friend. I wanted to ask for
Oh
her.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
We talked about it yesterday, didn't we?
Yes. She wanted to know just exactly how you felt about the anti-verse arc with the monthly audios.
I can't hear you so well. Say
Oh,
again?
I'm sorry. About the anti-verse arc with the monthly audios, how did you feel about that?
I don't understand the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. She wrote about the anti-verse arcs. What? Yeah.
Oh, that!
Yes, I'm sorry. She
See,
wrote it
you
for
can't,
me.
yeah, if you use Latin expressions,
I'm
it
sorry.
goes over my head. Well, wait, so the Zagreus thing. What you mean, how did I feel about doing them, or? Yeah, that was actually, for those of you that haven't heard the audio Zagreus, do try and do it, because it's one of the best things we ever did, I think. And it was a chance, I remember it fondly because it was a chance to play the very much the darker side of the Doctor character. Again, I probably sound like every actor you've ever heard. The darker side is more fun to play anyway, whatever you're playing. But that was a real opportunity, to play kind of two sides of the coin. I just really remember that fondly, and it's one of the best things we ever did, I think. And I'd love to go back and do some more of that kind of thing.
And what's the name of it? What's
Zagreus?
the Zagreus?
Yeah,
Okay.
Zagreus. Yeah, Zagreus lives inside your head.
Ah.
But we all know that, don't we?
Yeah.
I wake up feeling like that.
Go ahead.
Fez,
Hi.
is it cool?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Just wanted to ask you, got to get closer? Oh my gosh. Okay, all right. So the one thing I wanted to ask you, or actually make a comment on, was when they did the 1996 movie that was sold to Fox, the understanding I had was there was originally going to be a reboot of the show on the U.S., correct? It was...
That I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know that.
that's what I had heard, but the thing I wanted to ask about is, in the movie, you find out that the Doctor is half human, and that only a human's eyes can open the Eye of Harmony. And so my question was, I don't know if you can answer this, but were they planning on eventually, were they ever planning on expanding on that, or did they expand on that at any point?
So, and I'll expand. The understanding is this was a kind of a combination movie pilot, and that if it had gone, they were going to talk about doing a series. So did they talk to you about maybe where the show was going to go, or how much background did they give you to play the part?
We talked, this is Phil Siegel particularly, who was almost solely responsible, his energy for getting this thing, the pilot made, and potentially the series that would have followed made. So Phil and I spent a few weeks, as far as we could anyway, discussing where the Doctor might go. Because I had to be completely schooled in the character, and anyway, and Phil is a huge fan and elements of the story, such as that one. Again, the import of which had to really be drummed home to me.
Right.
Because I was playing catch up, and of course there hadn't been any Doctor Who at that period on TV for 7 or 8 years.
Right.
So things such as that, yeah, we talked about them, but in a way that I suppose was more in hope than expectation. When you make a pilot, and that was a pilot, strictly was a pilot. I had to sign a 6-year contract, a pre-contract, as everybody did. And we were able to discuss, okay, if it happens, this is what we'll do. But it was in the spirit, that was mainly because the pilot had to be just so. Elements, particularly iconic elements, had to be there. It's a little like a driving test. You never drive like that again, but they have to test you somehow. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like that. That's exactly what it was like. But let's get this out the way, and then we can get our teeth into, these real elements of the character. So this was the kind of spirit that we worked in. But yeah, this again, you mentioned this half-human aspect. Again, this is it went slightly over my head. I hadn't realized, rather like the kiss.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, the chaste kiss that happened. I had no idea.
Right. What? I'm breaking ground here?
Well, yeah,
I didn't know.
But how was I to know?
You could have told me.
Exactly. And so really I was kind of naive, and when I saw this line, I'm half human on my mother's side, I kind of assumed that that's the way it was.
Right.
Or the previous doctors had uttered these words, or
Right.
had alluded to this kind of thing. This is how it was. So that's as far as the discussions went.
So I've read somewhere that Moffat has talked about that and says that,
It's contentious.
Yeah, and he will, it seems like he takes a challenge to find ways to weave in inconsistencies into the, the correct canon. So he takes it as a puzzle.
I think that's a good point. And again, I don't want to speak for him, but I think there's certainly, that's a tension.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with, for a writer, he's really at the helm of it now. It has 50 years now of mythology.
Right.
Which is fertile ground for sure.
Right.
But still, you have to be light on your feet with it.
And the easy thing is to ignore it,
Yeah.
but the more challenging thing is, okay, well, let's play fair to the audience, let's play fair to the mythos, and find a way to weave this in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
That was kind of the same question I had you just answered, but Night of the Doctor was brilliant, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Well, it's for you. My pleasure.
Hi again.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, closer? Is that better?
That's fine, I can hear you.
I don't know if I'm sure you're aware of it by now, but after Night of the Doctor was released and everybody got to see how awesome it was, there was at least one petition that went around the internet trying to get enough signatures to convince the BBC to bring you back as kind of a spin-off series. And I was just wondering if,
I signed it. Oh! I signed it. Yeah.
Well, that answers my question.
But don't
then.
tell anyone, right? Just don't tell anyone I signed it.
It's like voting for yourself in an election, right?
Keep it under your fez. Yeah,
So
I
is
signed
that
it.
something that, if that was offered to you, was that something that you would be interested in working on?
Yeah, of course I would. Of course I would. Of course I do. And I guess should anything like that ever happen again, I can only assume that it would happen the way it happened last year. There'd be a call. Can you start on Monday? This is how it is. That's how it would happen. I don't expect that there would be any preliminaries. That's how it would be.
And Paul, this time you'll know, okay, they're not going to have a script ready. It's just blind faith.
Just turn up and do it, yeah.
I'll do it, okay.
Yeah, we still got the coat hanging up in the wardrobe. That's how it would be. Just come back and do it. But the thing is, I'm warmed up now. I feel...
Right, there you are.
But I could do it now.
Yeah.
And when we got to shoot at Cardiff on the Night of the Doctor, I was glad for the audios. I was glad that I'd kept my hand in, so to speak, because I felt that I knew. Mostly, I knew what I was doing.
Because you can imagine I'll take us on a side road, then bring it back. I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, and he tends to do a lot of songs from deep from his catalog. And so he did over 300 songs in this last tour. And so he has a teleprompter to remind him of lyrics.
Yeah.
So I can imagine from the time of the movie, if you'd not done the audio, trying to get back into that skin, that role, how much tougher it would have been.
In one day.
Yeah, in one day.
Yeah.
But now then, because of the audio, I think you kind of knew.
Yeah. Wouldn't have
the
been
doctor.
impossible, but it would have, I think it would have been hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Hard. And the minute, literally the minute I put that kit on,
Yeah.
I was there, I felt great.
You felt it?
I felt great.
You were the doctor?
Yeah, and Moffat was standing there when I put it on, you know. He was going, that's it. I even caught him during a lunch break with the jacket on. Saying to someone, take my picture.
Yes. Very nice.
Yeah.
Next?
Hi, Paul. Sorry, I'm
Hi.
a little nervous. I just wanted to ask.
You should try coming up here.
Oh,
I tell
well,
you.
okay. Other than your own companions, who from the other Doctor's companions would you have loved to travel with? And also, can I please have a hug?
You know, I've got such a soft spot for Ace. I think she's cool, and she's also a lovely woman, and a good friend. Yeah, it would be Ace, I think. I think it would. And you know, this might go over your heads, but when in England, when I was a young teen, you know, during the first wave of skinhead fashion. The first skinheads in England were all heavily into Jamaican music, and it was a big, you know, that was the thing. It was the music. I've always loved music, and we were little skinheads. You know, you wear the coat, the Crombie overcoat, the Levi stay pressed, the Dr. Martens, and the proper shirts with you look fantastic, and the girls too. There were skinhead girls who looked amazing. And when I saw Capaldi's new costume, that was what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, I can
He's
see
skinhead.
that.
He's got the airwear boots. He's got
Yeah.
the Crombie, and I thought they missed a trick. I thought they should have had a skinhead girl companion.
Maybe after, yes.
know.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah,
Cool.
and a score by Lee Perry.
Yeah.
Can I please have my hug, please?
Approach the bench. Come up here. How do you plead? Check it out. Now, how nervous are you now? Look.
I'm very.
I'm having a ball. Thank you.
Before we go to our next question, I do remind you will be at your booth signing. You're here through Monday, or do you leave?
Yeah, a bit of Monday. I'm flying home on Monday evening. So,
Okay,
but
so
I'll be here till then.
today and Sunday, and
Yeah.
come by. And
What day is it?
Today is Saturday. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And for those of you tweeting, hashtag Comicpalooza. All right, so also, if you have the Comicpalooza app, Paul and I would love for you to go to the sessions and give us high marks. If you didn't like the session, just delete the app and don't worry about it.
If you didn't like the sessions, my name's Mark McGann.
Yeah.
That's how we've always done it. Hiya.
Hello.
Hello.
I've actually got a little bit of a request. Can you either sing for us?
What? First
Or,
thing in the morning.
or could you read the monologue for the end of the Day of the Doctor as the 8th Doctor? I have it.
I can't
your
even
choice.
remember it. How does it go?
I've got it.
She hasn't.
Give it here.
Now, see, I almost, one of my favorite episodes of the modern era is Vincent and the Doctor, and where Matt talks about everyone has little sad bits and happy bits, and I almost printed that to ask each doctor that was here to do that. So, but this is better.
Oh, look at this. Oh, yes.
So you'll look for a minute? And
No,
then-
I don't need to.
Oh, whoa,
I'm
okay.
a paid
Ladies
professional.
and gentlemen.
I'm a paid professional. I'm not setting myself up for a fall here, am I, Tom? Okay. Clara sometimes asks me if I dream. Of course I dream, I tell her. Everybody dreams. But what do you dream about, she'll ask. The same thing everyone dreams about, I tell her. I dream about where I'm going. She always laughs at that. But you're not going anywhere, you're just wandering about. That's not true. Not anymore. I have a new destination. My journey is the same as yours, the same as anyone's. It's taken me so many years, so many lifetimes. But at last I know where I'm going, where I've always been going. Home. The long way round.
Thank you.
You know, if we did not have enough time, I would call scene right here, because next.
That's beautiful, isn't it? Who wrote that?
That was beautiful. Well done, sir.
Good morning, Paul.
That must have been Mark Gatiss that wrote that. Good morning to you.
I was wondering, could you speak about your time shooting on Luther with Idris Elba, Ruth Wilson, and Dara Varma?
I just remember being nervous because Idris, bless him, what an actor and what a man. But Idris, when he works anyway, takes it deeply seriously, a bit too seriously for me, or more seriously than I do anyway. And if whatever the requisite mood is in the script, he'll arrive in that mood. So I played Idris Elba's love rival. Right? You know, it's ridiculous. But there was a scene in it where he had to find me, beat the shit out of me, and he arrived like that. Looking for me. He got out of the car and he was looking for me, and I knew what he wanted to do, so I had to hide. I went from my trailer, they took the name off someone else's trailer, and I was hiding in there, yeah. And I could hear his voice, Paul, where, I knew he was coming for me. And so when we didn't even rehearse the scene. When we got to it, they just sort of threw me in. And I took my chances, and I remember, because he's big, Idris, and I'm small, and he was like, I was just like a piece of paper. Like that, he just kind of did that and threw me on the top of a car. But I lived. No, he's a great actor, I think. But I was deeply nervous. I'm glad I escaped to fight another day. I hear they're making a movie of that as well. I'm a little bit jealous. I wish I were in it.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Nice.
Anyway, there we are.
Hi.
Hello.
I really like everything you've done with Doctor Who, but I was actually introduced to you through Horatio Hornblower. And,
oh, wow. Well, that's been a while.
Yeah. I was wondering if you could maybe briefly talk about your experience on there, or what's the difference between sailing a tall ship and sailing the TARDIS?
Ooh, great question.
That's a good question. I have to say, I hope all of you are familiar with the Hornblower series. For those that are not, then just we apologize. But that was actually the first and only time I was ever under sail. I've never been, although all my family went to sea, I'd never been to sea. And these boats that we shot the different series in, these sailing ships, of course, they were modified and fitted with engines, and on any working day you'd sail out to the horizon and they'd switch the engine off and then put the sails out. And I remember I wasn't the only one. There was a small gang of us just cried our eyes out. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, I'm sure there were sailors in the room. But when it first happens, it's breathtaking. And it's silent. You're moving with the wind. It's just the most beautiful thing. Anyway, I was on 3 of those. We went to the Black Sea to shoot one of them. Spain for one, and then we shot in Cornwall. And it was a hoot. But it's been now 10, 12 years since we shot any, for the simple reason we can't get our star actor home from Los Angeles. Johan Griffiths, he's given in to stardom. I wish we could, because we're all getting a little bit old now. And we have 2 novels that we never shot. In one of the stories, my character, Lieutenant Bush, loses a leg. Yeah. And gets married in the same episode. I want to do it. I really just want to shoot it.
Yeah.
If they don't do it, I might just go and shoot it on my own.
There you go.
Do my own little spin-off. No, I miss it. But there you go.
Hold up a minute. I want to make sure we get to the questions, but also, what do you have coming up? Is there anything that you want to promote? Anything that you've got coming up?
I'm at a stage of something where if I tell you, I'd have to kill you all.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
okay.
So I need to be sworn to secrecy.
We'll talk afterwards.
You'll understand all about being sworn to secrecy.
Yes. All
right. I'm kind of curious because of my backdrop. I mean, I'm a drama student here in Houston, and so I was interested. Do you have a specific method or study of acting that you use in your profession? For instance, I've been studying Stanford Meisner the past 2 years.
Oh,
and
yeah, I'm aware of that, yeah.
I was wondering if you had your own?
I went to a stage school, an English stage school, RADA, in London, well, 35 years ago now I went there, but so I guess things are different now, but I'm certainly a product of perhaps a kind of old-fashioned way now of, particularly in Britain, well, it's probably unique to Britain. We're only stage trained. We never trained for TV, film, or anything else. We got a classical stage training, and then they just threw you into other things. Nowadays, of course, this also predated, lightweight cameras, any of the kind of gear that would enable you to run classes, film classes. I remember we had a sound studio and one language lab. That was it. But it was strictly a stage training. It was a 2-year. Kind of partly intellectual, I guess, stage training, which was loosely Stanislavski-based, but not so as you'd notice, really. Very English, I think.
So Paul, in your studies, was there, or in your career, is there any one specific trait or tool in your acting toolbox that you've really used a lot, that you've found quite
it was really, again, for my generation anyway, it was particularly impressed on us that it's a craft. It is a craft, there's techniques. It's stagecraft. Like I say, for us it was solely a stage training. And these are things you can practically learn. Talent's one thing, we've all got talent to different degrees, but the craft can be learned and assimilated. And even now, I've just finished a run of a play in London now. And every time, it's like, I'm sure we all experience the same thing. Every now and again, even sometimes 30 years later, you'll remember something from school. You think, oh wow, that's why they said that. This is why I was taught that. I still have these experiences from the stage training. In a sense, you live and learn. You never ever really understand the whole thing. And for us, I think it's a company-based thing. We were taught and exhorted to get on with a company, to work with technicians. This is how we were trained. And it's, like I say, it's probably a peculiarly English training. I know even in Ireland they don't train like that. But we all wanted to be movie stars. I remember being sat in the common room of RADA, whenever it was, 1979 or whatever it was. And there's now guys who are now stars, Ken Branagh and Mark Rylance, great actors, great stage actors. And I can distinctly remember one rainy afternoon we were sat in this place and we were having this conversation, did you go to theatre as a kid, and did your parents take you to shows? And most of us didn't, we were working class kids. It was movies, we came up through movies. So paradoxically, we wanted to be movie stars, but we couldn't train to be movie stars. We had to go and train to be stage actors. And I remember Branagh saying, I don't want to be on a stage, I want to be a movie star. I want to be Jack Nicholson, whatever. And Rylance would say the same thing. I'm just amused to remember it. But it was the truth, nevertheless, I'm of the age where really what got me about it, I didn't want to be an actor initially. I was in sport. I was a track and field athlete. That was my dream. I wanted to be in sport. But I fell away, and sport's tough. It's tougher than show business. But when I was 12, 13, 14, I was lucky. You'll remember the same. It was a golden age, probably the last right. golden age of, particularly for Hollywood, the Hollywood independent era. And for us kids then, who were trying to break in the back of cinemas in England and see any film that was on that had an X, as you do, and see anything. And I remember seeing Last Detail, Clute,
right,
The Last Picture Show, And my friends would, because there were no bare breasts, and it would just scar up immediately. But I remember being transfixed, seeing Jack Nicholson, seeing those actors. And I remember thinking, wow, do people do that for a living?
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it started. Okay. Yeah, that's how it started.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking
yes,
too
we're
much.
Sorry.
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
God, do I really sound like that? Goodness. I'm sorry. I hope you don't think.
Isn't it a great feeling when you speak and it's magnified all around the room?
No, it just makes me nervous. I hope you don't think me rude for taking out my phone. I get nervous and I can't remember my major points.
That's okay.
I don't have so much of a question to say. It's just yesterday I was fortunate enough to meet you, and you were just so very polite, and the interaction meant so much to me because you were actually my first doctor. And being that this is my first actual convention, comic convention that I've gone to.
Well, you picked the great one for your first, let me tell you.
I did.
Yeah, well chosen.
I was very lucky. The reason why I even left my house and took off from work was because I found out that, you know, it was a major Doctor Who sort of thing, and, you know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were here. But mainly I heard the names Paul McGann and John Barrowman.
That's very sweet of you.
So I left my house. So there was just so much to do yesterday. I was wondering if you were doing photo ops again later on today.
I believe I am. Let me tell you. Exactly. Photo ops today, Saturday. Yep, 3:30. In fact, no, 3:10. There's one with the boy band, and then we stay in the room, and I do my individual ones at 3:30.
Okay.
So come by.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming this year. It meant
the
so
pleasure's
much.
all mine, let me tell you.
And also, I just wanted to point out the fact that I have this remarkable talent of being able to catch kisses that are blown at me. Go ahead.
Okay. You can teach me that later.
All right, final question. The pressure's on. Make it a great one.
Okay. I was.
Wow, you don't need a mic. It's great. What's your secret?
I don't know. I talk loud. I was wondering that if you could go back and be the writer for any of the stuff you've done for Doctor Who, either the audio or the movie or the little minisode you were in, and you could change something that the writers put in, what would you change?
Well, like I said, I was describing before when we shot the pilot. And hindsight's a beautiful thing, of course, because now we know, of course, the pilot failed. I would go back and perhaps modify some of those things. Perhaps some of that, it wasn't filler. It all needed to be there. But as I was describing before, so I think we were too weighed down by having to place certain iconic things in there. I think probably slightly at the expense of the momentum and the story and everything else. That certainly I would change. I would change that much, definitely. But then again, it was a difficult trick to pull off, you know. In 1996, we were, or they were anyway, all the interested parties, were convinced that there was an audience. It sounds mad saying it now because Doctor Who's huge in the United States. But they were convinced, but they weren't sure that there was an audience in the United States for Doctor Who. So while having to cater for that audience, or putatively that audience, that may or may not have been there, they also didn't want to put the noses out of joint of the people back home who'd already were following the thing for 30-odd years. So it was a difficult thing to pull off, anyway. But I'd go back and change it nevertheless.
Okay.
And I'd make the kiss longer.
So I'm getting the signal that we need to cut off.
What a shame.
Yes. So, Paul, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you for answering our questions. Where can we find you? Social media, or do you have a webpage?
Social media, yeah, you can Twitter me.
Okay.
Paul J. McGann, that's me.
All right, very nice. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.